What's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in as we continue to move through the NFL uh, with a free agency fallout and the impact on fantasy. With the dust settled on the majority of free agency, updated depth charts, about a month or so before the draft, we'll take a look, at least right now, on the landscape, going division by division, and giving our thoughts again from a fantasy perspective. We've done the AFC. All of those videos are available on the channel. Today, we are going over the NFC East. So if you like what you are hearing, we just ask that you like and subscribe the video. Appreciate that in advance. We'll kick things off with the Dallas Cowboys. Admittedly, not much to talk about here. They've got losses as they kind of navigate their cap situation. There's admittedly more to talk about with the other three teams, but I'll give you any time you would like to talk about the Cowboys free agency thus far this year.
Yeah, not much to talk about, like you said, free agency wise. They lost Pollard to Tennessee. Michael Gallup hasn't been re-signed, so he's gone.
Or they just released him outright. Yeah.
Yeah. Tyron Smith, obviously, we know signed with the Jets. So, and they haven't brought anyone in, at least on offense. Defensively brought in a linebacker, but I'm not much really to analyze. I guess running back wise, you have to imagine they'll bring someone in. I don't think Rico Dowdle and Deuce Vaughn are going to be leading this backfield. So wait and see if they draft someone. I know J.K. Dobbins is still out there. He just got cleared today for football activity, and they say he looks good, but we've heard that before, and it is an Achilles. So I don't know. I mean, they sort of missed out on the running back shuffle, and Pollard left, although ineffective without Zeke there. So anything you want to add? I don't really have much to talk about.
They're one of the primary players in the draft for running back.
I'd agree with that.
You figure maybe they end up with a Jonathan Brooks, a Benson, depending on who's at the top of their board.
Yeah.
They end up with that guy, and that guy becomes very appealing, at least from an opportunity perspective. Trey Benson is the RB33 off the board right now with an ADP of 109. Jonathan Brooks is he on the board? He is. He's the RB37 with an ADP of 120. So I guess if you want to roll the dice, if you're playing best ball and you want to roll the dice on who you think the Cowboys starter might be, if you think it'll be a rookie, I guess there's your targets. That's about it.
Yeah. Not much more to add. Let's just move on then. New York, they were definitely, especially running back, doing a little swap there. Go ahead and tell us what about New York's moves you thought about.
Yeah, I guess I'd say a little more than a little, right? With the backfield shift, out is Saquon Barkley, in is Devin Singletary. Singletary had a nice year for Houston, took the job over midseason from Dameon Pierce, and pretty much never looked back. Just missed 900 rushing yards. Again, didn't start the year as the starter. Yeah. 216 attempts, caught the ball 30 times. Receiving yards low, didn't score a receiving touchdown, but 30 catches from a guy that was the RB2 to start the season and for much of the beginning of the season. All in all, very impressive, strong season from Devin Singletary. Now seemingly is going to get the opportunity to be the guy again from day one. So I like the opportunity for Singletary very much. It's a down tick in situation. The Giants have been pulling teeth on offense, pulling teeth on offense the past couple of years, and certainly along their offensive line. That's been a struggle, but opportunity is opportunity. And Devin Singletary right now is being drafted outside the top 32. I just bring that up because, in theory, 32 starters at running back across the league. He's being drafted like a backup, even though he's going to be a starter. Right. I like that ADP of 116 for him quite a bit.
Yeah. No, and we saw him pop a little bit at the end of last year, taking the job away from Damian Pierce.
Mm.
Certainly not as good of an offense, like you said, in New York, but interesting upside as far as the volume and opportunity he'll be getting. So, yeah, I do like that value. 116. What is that? 11th round, or sorry, ninth round pick. So,
Later than that, right?
is it?
116.
Wouldn't
That's like
120?
around, or yeah, middle of the ninth. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
So yeah, other than that, I mean, we saw them sign Drew Lock. Not really anything worthwhile to mention there. They did, and they're probably going to end up drafting a receiver. I would imagine in the draft. But is Daniel Jones with the running backs swap affected by you at all? I mean, I guess he's not quite the pass catcher, or he's not the pass catcher. I shouldn't say not quite. He's not the pass catcher talent wise or volume wise that Saquon has been, but does Jones is very, very much a running type quarterback when he wants to be. So do you have any analysis, I guess, on the passing attack for the Giants with any moves they've made?
I mean, Jones is on the hot seat for sure. The Giants are in a position. I feel like they're kind of flying under the radar as far as teams that are kind of in a position to get a quarterback. They have the 6th overall pick. If there's anybody that they love, they might be aggressive. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Jones is on the hot seat as far as I'm concerned, and drafters feel the same way. He's got an ADP of outside the top 200 in one quarterback leagues.
Yep.
There's a lot of uncertainty there, and of course, coming off a season-ending injury. They bring in John Runyon in free agency to boost the offensive line. So we'll see if he's able to step in and fill some holes for them there. Yeah, I mean, Jalen Hyatt, Wandale Robinson, like you said, they'll draft somebody most likely, but this passing attack leaves a lot to be desired. There's still not a whole lot here for me to get excited about. I figure Devin Singletary is probably going to get as much work as he can possibly handle.
Yeah.
Not sure how many more impact players they could possibly bring in at this point of the offseason for at least this year.
Right. They did bring in a bunch of new starters on the O line, so including Runyon, like you mentioned, from Detroit. He's from Detroit, right?
He's Green
Bay. Sorry. Yeah,
Green
I mixed up Runyon and Jonah Jackson for some reason. Maybe the J-O.
The J first letter in the first name type of thing.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, I don't hate Singletary at all at that ADP, but yeah, like you said, other than that, I'm not too excited or eager to get in on this Giants offense fantasy wise.
Nah.
So
not feeling that. I do like Singletary at cost. Let's keep it moving though to the busiest team in this division as from a free agency perspective. The Philadelphia Eagles, my Philadelphia Eagles. I'll give you a chance to speak first. Big players in free agency. One specific situation, but they've added and subtracted in a variety of ways. What are your thoughts on the Eagles' moves thus far this offseason?
Well, they finally traded for a quarterback, so we have options there now. We can see how.
All right, that's okay. Okay,
we want to give this is real analysis. Rewind.
This is that hard hitting stuff. Can't find anywhere else.
Definitely not. So, yeah, the big move obviously signing Barkley, which with the amount of money they just gave him, I would hope that they use him more than they used Swift. It was just so weird last year watching them swap in Kenny Gainwell around the goal line or just randomly when it was clear by everyone's eyes that Swift was more talented and more efficient with the ball.
Mm-hmm.
But they gave Barkley could be up to isn't it in the 45 million it can be up to or something like that.
That's where the guarantees could net around.
Yeah. So I mean that's a huge contract for a running back, especially that age. So yeah, I mean we'll see. As far as for Barkley's value, he's never had an O-line or an offense like this before that he's been a part of. So as far as production on the ground and hopefully, with catching the ball. I can't remember if I don't think Hurts is much of a passer of the ball too much to the running backs, but
Not to the running backs.
yeah. So I mean, he'll still have work in the receiving game just by nature of his talent and what they're paying him. But yeah, it should be exciting watching Barkley. You're kind of hoping, I think, that he breaks off some runs and has those big plays for touchdowns because I'll tell you what, we just got confirmation that the tush push is staying in the rules.
It
That
did.
means Kelsey or not, they're going to be doing it as long as it's working. So Hurts is going to be taking those goal line opportunities, as we know. So,
Important point.
um, but were the Giants really giving Saquon many goal line opportunities with their offense? That's the question, right? So, I'm liking Saquon this year. I don't mind looking at him at the back of the first, beginning of the second. I do believe he is going in the top or mid of the second. Is that correct?
ADP of 17, so like mid
Yeah,
second round.
almost mid second. I like him a little more than that. I'd say I have him around that 1-2 turn. Uh,
Okay. Wow.
I just, I mean, we just never seen him on an offense like this. So as much of the Eagles hater as I guess I could be construed, I do like Barkley at cost.
Construed.
Yeah.
Do you like him more than the likes of, just to gauge, and then we'll keep it moving? Jameer Gibbs, Kyron Williams, Jonathan Taylor, who are the three backs going ahead of him?
I like him more than Taylor. I like him more than Gibbs is tough. I really like Kyron. I still think I have over just because Kyron, just the amount of work he like we saw it work last year. He's coming back on that offense, and with assuming health, which I don't have a concern with that, being a reoccurrence. I love Kyron as far as what he's done with the Rams, but
Okay.
Gibbs is sort of the line where I'm not sure how to evaluate what their usage with him is going to be. I hope it improves. Given, even though they have Montgomery did come back and he ate into it a little bit, but we did see Gibbs without Montgomery just dominate. So, and the Lions obviously have an impressive offense as well. So yeah, it's going to be around that spot. I think if it were me and I'm in that position, I'm not going to be taking Barkley in the first round, only because if he's going at that 17th, I'll probably be targeting him in the late second and looking at either probably like a receiver in that spot in the back of the first, and then try to get Barkley as my RB1 at the top
Got
of the
it.
second.
Okay. And that's something that's very doable according to ADP right now.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing from a free agency perspective here. They bring in Devontae Parker. They're looking for some depth behind AJ Brown and Devontae Smith at wide receiver. Not really anything to consider there. Kenny Pickett comes in the form of a trade. That's noteworthy for Superflex leagues. And that's about it. They'll be looking at some changes. Jason Kelsey retires. So that offense as a whole is likely to take a bit of a hit. But the Eagles have enough pieces on offense to theoretically continue to play at a high level. Sans Kelsey, and Saquon certainly helps with that. I like him, at least 3 or 4 picks above his ADP. Is Saquon.
Yeah. Does Devontae Parker do anything for you on this?
Yeah, like I said, no. This AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert are going to continue to run that passing attack. Now you add Saquon, who's an elite receiving threat out of the backfield. Hurts runs a decent amount. It's scraps after that, so not really.
Yeah.
Not really. Something would have to happen to AJ or Devontae.
Makes sense.
Devontae Smith, not Devontae Parker.
Yeah,
For
of course.
Devontae Parker to become something, a little bit more fantasy relevant. Yeah.
Well, let's move on to Washington then. I would say if
Sure.
not the Eagles, they were probably one of the most busy in this division and the whole league.
They've been active.
A lot of guys went to other teams. They brought in a big name, obviously. Give me your thoughts on what Washington's been doing.
Yeah. Big one, of course, is Austin Eckler. Uh, Bring him in on a 2-year deal, 8.5 million. He will split the backfield with Brian Robinson. Eckler sounded excited about it in his introductory press conference.
Yeah.
Uh, Something that he had been asking the Chargers to kind of do a little bit better job of in the past couple of seasons, 2, 3 years of his career.
Yeah.
Finding a guy that can help spell him to keep him fresh. They epically failed at that, to put it
Yep.
lightly,
Yep.
which put more on Eckler's plate. And it kind of all came to a head this past year, and he missed a decent amount of time due to injury and was ineffective when he was on the field. Uh,
Yep.
Now he gets a new opportunity in Washington, but it is a downgrade across the board. Yes, the Chargers are a train wreck, but at least they had Justin Herbert at quarterback. Now Eckler goes to, we'll see who the Commanders draft. It could be Drake May. It could be Jaden Daniels. There are rumors, whispers now. This could be a smokescreen. It could be more than that. That JJ McCarthy is making his way into the top
Yeah.
3 or higher of the conversation of where Washington ends up going.
Right.
Regardless, we're someone very green, literally as green as can get, is going to be the week 1 starter for Washington because they moved on from Sam Howell. There's not, and Jacoby Brissett. There's not really. It's the rookie quarterback they take it to, and nobody else. That kid's going to have the keys to the castle, whoever it is. So that could help Austin Eckler from a rookie checking the ball down type of perspective. But again, we got to see who it is.
Yeah.
We got to see who the quarterback is. So, I'm a little leery of Eckler. One, downgrade in situation from previous years. And again, maybe you could look at it as glass half full from an efficiency perspective, if that helps keep him fresh, but he's going to be splitting work now more than he has been, again, in years past, with Brian Robinson, who is 12 picks cheaper than him right now. And I think that's the guy that I like at cost.
Okay.
So I guess tentatively, we can't be up on everybody, and I think even at a depreciated cost with an ADP of 90 for Eckler, I don't think I'm in on that.
Are we at all considering? I know you said the injury, you mentioned it, but is that possibly what it was more so than his ability? I mean,
Certainly could be. Yeah,
I could see a world where, I mean, we've seen Robinson well in an offense, and it was Sam Howell who wasn't anything special.
sure.
They get a top quarterback out of the draft, yet to be seen who that is, but uh, I I don't see any reason why. I almost think I want the running back involved in the passing game with a younger quarterback, kind of another safety valve. I know we talk sometimes about tight ends being that for young quarterbacks, but if there's going to be a guy catching passes, it's going to be Eckler of the two. I mean, 8.4 over 2 is nothing to get too juiced up about as far as a commitment by the team. So I don't disagree as far as obviously Brian Robinson being cheaper, being a potentially more of a value there, but I'm yeah, I guess is your thought Eckler is going to play more of a third down role, like be more of that Antonio Gibson type
Yeah,
piece
I guess, and
than he has
maybe,
been?
yeah, I guess maybe that's where my head is going. And Gibson just didn't get utilized
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
extent that we wanted
good
to. Now
point.
maybe that's more the player than the scheme. It seems like he maybe kind of, the vibes. Obviously, we're not in the locker room or on the field or anything like that behind closed doors.
Right,
The vibes always felt like it was maybe like the team just kind of soured on him.
right,
That always felt like the vibe that Washington had kind of decided to go away from Gibson more than, as opposed to when he was a rookie.
yeah,
Um, so maybe Eckler gets more opportunities there. And I guess Ron Rivera is gone, and he's the guy who has loved Brian Robinson. So maybe it is, maybe it is the situation and not as much the scheme, so to say. So maybe
yeah.
Eckler's actually a little bit more valuable there. Um, it's just there's a lot of question marks with this offense, new personnel, what it'll all look like.
I think we
I'm
can both
lukewarm.
agree.
I'm not totally out, but I can't be anything more than lukewarm on Eckler right now.
Yeah, I think we both agree it's a downgrade from the situation in LA where that usage was just astronomical. So,
Right.
um, yeah, otherwise they did lose Curtis Samuel, Gibson to New England, Samuel to Buffalo. So a couple of their, you know, Swiss Army knife type players going to the AFC East there.
Which I guess maybe that means that Eckler, that's the role that he's good. He's the Curtis Samuel plus Antonio Gibson. That like all of that work is going to him, which
Yeah.
would be good in theory. Which would be good in theory.
Do
I guess.
you with them losing Sam Howell, trading him, obviously they're going to be getting a rookie quarterback. Do you have any thoughts on the pass catchers, McLaurin, Dotson, or Zach Ertz?
Yeah, there's a lot of unknown here right now. You know, it could any one of these players could mesh better with whatever quarterback comes in. Maybe May likes McLaurin more. Maybe Daniels likes Dotson more. You know, these types of chemistry things is just they just can't be charted right now, and
Right.
there's just so much unknown. I mean, McLaurin is obviously the better player. Got an ADP of 57. That's not awful, especially considering how aggressive people are drafting wide receivers this year.
Mm-hmm.
Getting McLaurin almost 60 picks into a draft, being drafted as a wide receiver 3 feels fine, I guess, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure he's fallen far. If he fell like 10 more spots, if people were like kind of indicating that they were out on him, I would be more in.
Right.
I think we're kind of trying to hedge our bets with Terry McLaurin right now. And so again, kind of like Austin Eckler, I know McLaurin's a mainstay in this offense for several years running now, but I'm kind of just lukewarm on him.
The guys going after him, Calvin Ridley, Jordan Addison, Brian Thomas Jr., the rookie out of LSU,
Mm-hmm.
Chris Godwin. I gotta say, I mean, we got again, we'll see after the draft, but it's there's a couple names there I think I like a little more than him.
I
I
think I
mean, I'm
like Marquise Brown 10 picks later, or almost 15 picks
15
later,
picks
who's
later,
paired up
yeah.
with Patrick Mahomes.
Right. You get Godwin who gets Baker back. He had 1,000 yards lower on the touchdowns, but
Sure.
we'll yeah, I mean, I I don't know. Yeah, it's a lot of it. I know it's pretty ambiguous, a lot of this analysis we're giving with these quarterback situations, but because it's not other than Chicago, it's really a toss up as far as what we're hearing, as far as which quarterback's going where.
Right.
It's hard to really analyze these offenses. So I mean, I don't think I've seen a year like this where we know these teams are going quarterback in the first round, and we don't know which one.
Yeah.
As many of them I'm saying as we do, right? Like it's usually maybe one or two, and you might have a lean of one versus the other. So it's a lot of good quarterbacks in the class makes for that sort of unknown, and we can after the draft have our team by team analysis and go through those players. And so yeah, I'm excited for that. But as far as free agency goes, yeah, definitely downgrade I'd say for Eckler, but to be seen. I don't hate the value as of now, but I have the right to change my mind depending on how the draft goes.
There's a lot to sort through with the draft still looming, but still feels appropriate with the vast majority of free agency over to kind of take a look at it from a bird's eye view for now. So that'll do it for us for our NFC East free agency coverage. Continuing to look at the rest of the NFL division by division breakdown from a fantasy impact. We'll continue to do that here on our channel as the draft quickly approaches. Appreciate you guys coming in, hanging out. Thanks for listening.